Hey, how's it going, guys? I just finished up my day here at work, and so now it's time to put on the cold air intake for my 2021 Subaru STI. It is the Cobb SF intake. It is an intake and it has a little air box in there as well. And so we're gonna be installing that today. I'll be installing it, showing you guys how to install it, as well as putting on the tune on the Cobb access ports, and then I'll be taking some after clips of what it sounds like. And so I'm pretty excited to throw this back on. I previously threw it on before, but it did not end up working out because it was throwing up some check engine codes. It was throwing up a system 2 lean bank 1 code, and I'm pretty sure that was due to the fact that it didn't have the tune thrown on there. And so this time I have the Cobb access ports, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw that tune on there, and hopefully it runs right. If not, I'll give you guys an update and let you in on how that's going. But I'm gonna go get my car right now, and then I'm gonna start throwing it on. So I just pulled in the STI, and I'm about to get started with the install. I'll walk you guys step by step pretty much how to install it. Super simple, but there is some little things that can get a little confusing. So I'll go ahead and show that, and we'll get into the install. So first things first, we are here. We want to go ahead and remove the intake air duct. There it is. There's that one. Slide it out. And so for the STIs, I think it is 2020 and above. It is a more of a rectangle shape right here. But the one that goes into the Cobb SF is actually more of a square shape. So you might have to get, if you have a 2020 and above STI, I believe, you might have to get a older generation, or because my Cobb SF, I bought it secondhand, so it didn't come with that, and so I have to find a different thing for that one. So next things up, we're gonna remove these two tabs on the side of the air box right here to free that out. Let's miss. For these ones, I may just have to get a small 10mm wrench, and just break them loose. And then just spin them off the rest of the way. Honestly, I was gonna use gloves, but it makes this so much more difficult. So just gonna remove these 10s right here. Save these little things. They're pretty small, so I don't want to lose these. Put them off to the side. And then down below the air box, there's as well a 10. That one you're definitely gonna need an extension to get to it. And you could just use either a ratchet, but I'll be using just this impact. Just want to break that loose and take it out to free that in. It's a little bolt about this size. Put this off to the side. I want to remove the MAF sensor clip and then pop it off the air box right here. Set this off to the side. And then I'm going to move this little tab on the left side. So I just moved the camera angle a little bit so you can get a better view. But I definitely need to improve this little view. Then with a flathead, just loosening these clamps up, this one right here and this one down here that connects lower, popping these little lines off to give me room. And now as I loosen this loosen this line right here. I should be able to just pull the air box out. Just a little bit of wiggling. And here is the air box out now. So just set that off to the side. Just in case I need to revert. Actually, just gotta remember to take off the MAF sensor so that I can put it onto the new system. Just removing that with a small Phillips head screwdriver. And one thing I noticed is you want to be careful with these little screws that come on the MAF sensor, because they can be a little bit sensitive. They can get stripped very easily. As well, even the inserts on the cold air intake, little brass parts, can also be very sensitive. I'm going to keep it in here just so I don't have the MAF sensor out in the open, able to get destroyed. I definitely don't want to do that. So now we have the hot air box out. Now we pretty much just transfer everything over to this Cobb air box right here. So as well, you have to remove this little 10mm bolt from the power steering fluid right here. So I just got to remove that, because that is going to be a bracket for this part of the air box. And then now you just want to kind of finesse this air box in there and kind of fill that gap. This is where the intake will sit. And as well, while you're here, you can just remove this hose off of here. So there it is. And that little air box down there, you want to make sure this little tab of the intake snorkel goes under the air box. So I just kind of dry fit it under first, and then I always hand tighten screws on first so that I'm not stripping anything down below. I'm not stripping anything. There it is, just a couple turns. Then I can go in there and actually screw it down a little more. Still just not all the way, because I got to do some more adjustments. And then get that bolt for the power steering reservoir as well. Fit that on there. Tighten it on. Nothing too crazy. And then I can go and tighten this down. All the way to where I need it. Here you go. Here's the air filter element. Go ahead and slide that in there carefully. And there it is. It is on there. And then tying it all the way in there with the hose clamp. Tighten that in, lock it in. Lock it in, make sure it's snug, make sure it's seated all the way. We're good there. Here comes the blue Cobb intake. Slide that on there. Whoa. Whoa. So you reuse the clamp that was on this one. So slide that on there. And then slide this one on there as well. Now I want to tighten this hose clamp. Make sure it's seated properly. Just gonna make sure it's properly seated all the way around. Seems good. Definitely don't want any leaks. And then bring it in close and good here. Same thing. Tighten that hose clamp down. Nice and snug. Don't want any vacuum leaks at all, for sure. Especially with Subarus are super finicky. Any small little change will just drastically throw everything else off and just make it go haywire. So definitely don't want that. So seems good there. Give it a little tug, give it a little test. There it is. And then as well, you want to transfer over this little grommet part from the hot air box. So you just take off this 10 as well and then transfer it over to the air box on here. I'm gonna be straight up. I forgot how this rubber grommet goes, to be completely honest with you guys. This is what I did with the rubber grommet. Just bolted it down on the other side. I don't think that's how it goes, but this will do for now. I remember I did it a different way before, but here's how so far I was looking. Just the clamp on this side right here, the other clamp right here, and then we put in the thing. Now we just need to put on the MAF sensor, and that should be almost about it. So now I'm going to fully transfer the MAF sensor over to the Cobb SF. And carefully transfer over these little screws, making sure they are going in the right way, not cross-threading them. There's one. There's two, and he's going pretty nice and smooth. So if you feel resistance at when you're first trying to tighten them up, it's most likely starting to cross thread. So just back out a little bit and then retry it. You just want to go back and forth. I press down and then twist so it doesn't strip the screws easily, but even then it still kind of strips it. So just want to give it a wiggle test, make sure it's good. Feels good and tight in there. Then I wrap around the MAF sensor, but this is the part that I remembered didn't go so well. You're gonna have to wrap this cable, MAF sensor cable, through the back part of the airbox. So I'm gonna remove that screw, that bolt from the power steering fluid reservoir. and then feed the MAF sensor cable under that, and I'll show you after how I routed that. There it is, finally. And then I just want to move this over a little bit to give it room to feed it under. There it is. And give me space. And it's going to go over the air filter a little bit. That's the thing with the placement on these ones. It's not the best. It's going to go over the filter just a little bit. But it shouldn't cause any problems, hopefully. It's just a little bit. It's just a little wire over the top of the filter. It's not like it's sucking anything of that sort in. There it is, tighten. And that's pretty much it installed right there. Just gonna tighten up everything else. Make sure all the clamps are properly seated, secured, and good on there. Make sure the filter's on there good too. Connection is good. And there it is. So here it is, the air filter element, and this is how I mentioned the cable's gonna go over it a little bit. And these wires aren't really pulled on there too much, so it should be good. All of these connections are tight, they're good on there, and so she's on there. So I'm just installing the tune, and that should be about it that is left for the complete install. A lot of weird lights flashing, but it is being installed. So I just finished installing the Cobb SF intake all the way on. This is a couple days after I ran it a little bit with the tune, and I made sure to let the ECU relearn, because at first, initially, the throttle pedal is a little bit dead, like at the very beginning. And so you gotta let it relearn for a little bit. You either just let it idle for about 5 minutes and then let it idle 5 minutes with the AC on just to get a good cycle. And then afterwards, just drive it kind of a little bit, you know, tame for the first initial day. And then now I've done that, and it's feeling a little bit better. The throttle pedal isn't so dead at the beginning, and feels like the power is there. So I'm gonna get some sound clips so you can hear what it sounds like after. I've drove with it so far already, and it's amazing. You can hear all the intake noises. You can hear, I have an aftermarket bypass valve. It is a Boomba bypass valve, which has a little bit of a flutter. So I definitely love how that sounds. But yeah, I'm gonna get some sound clips so you can take a listen as well, and make a decision if you want to get an intake. Definitely recommend it. With a tune though. But yeah, I'll have that for you guys.